with chapter 2 being 3 to 4 days away, depending on when you see this video, we got a lot of new stuff for chapter 2 that I'm very excited to talk about. Basically one thing I am most excited about for chapter 2 is flex carding and synergy rolling. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about some synergy rolling, the flex carding. Are you gonna zero carding a build, carding the least possible amount of cards? What cards are open the most possibilities? Do you card abilities or do you card talents the most? If you have to card the least amount, do you something I've called talent and ability blocking, and the importance of level 1 choices we're gonna have now. So Ascension dropped a very nice article and video for chapter 2. If you haven't seen them, I recommend watching them or give them a read. There's a lot of cool stuff that is happening. But for this video, I'm gonna give you a quick too long didn't read if you haven't watched them yet. So flex carding, we are gonna get 4 new slots, 2 abilities and 2 talents. The synergy rolls is something that we already have, and a lot of people could probably feel it. When you had talents, the game took your build in a certain direction. So if you had stuff like Sinister Strike, you were more prone to see other Sinister Strike stuff, and same goes for other abilities. And now in chapter 2, it's gonna be even more buffed. And when Ascension buff stuff, it's only a slight turn on the knob, but it's hopefully gonna be noticeable. For the 4 cards slots and the flex carding, it's gonna be so good for the whole player spectrum. This is well thought about, that they hit all the margins and didn't left anyone out. If they were only adding the extra slots, this would hurt players who were trying to finish the build or were deep into the investment of the builds, and they could not use this. So now everyone will be hopefully using everyone will be using this, but I would also say use sparingly. So right now, me and probably a lot else are just fishing for the last ability or last talent, and you can just now go out and card it, get it. Do consider that you could be sparingly with these card slots, because if this is a build you're going to use for the whole of TBC, if you have the willingness, maybe you're not raiding in a very hardcore guild or you don't need the talent that much, try to be preservative with the carding. It could be beneficial. Maybe they're adding new talents or abilities later on, and just being able to roll for any one of those like talent and abilities later on could be a massive benefit. And with this so many new benefits, we are gonna see possible a new prestige meta, just running prestige just for the sake of it, just for increasing your prestige level. You now gonna be able to card 2 more talents in. If you have a big talent card pool, this is for some builds like a 10 to 20 to maybe even more of how you can be prestiging. This together with the Mana Storm potions buff that hopefully works for leveling, I really hope so, that you're gonna have a crazy amount of spike in leveling. And what does this also mean? It means possible of a meta boosting, because this was not a thing you can do before. If you didn't card stuff at level 1, your build would be doomed and you would have wasted all of your card slot. This is not the case anymore. Now a player, if you have the if you want to just level with level 1 abilities, you could be leveling with 0 cards. And in how I see this, basically how to min-max this is that you have one player decked out and basically boosting the other player. But to really min-max this is that when this run is finished, one player boosting and one player just relaxing, you switch it up and you instead have the other player boosting the other players. So after 2 prestiges, you can both be sitting down and rolling out your builds with 0 card slots. And this is going to be interesting to test out, and this is definitely something that I'm going to test out. So synergy rolling, going to be so much more agency over the build direction, hopefully, depending on how much they're buffing it and how strong it is, and how much we're going to learn about it over the next couple of weeks. How more often are you getting meaningful rolls? Hopefully, because the more rolls that are synergistic are hopefully more meaningful, and just faster and better build progress. And of course, with any new game mechanic introduced, we're going to ask the question how to min-max. And the one way, as you mentioned earlier, is that well, just zero carding, basically you are at the full odds of RNG. Your build can be going any direction, and disclaimer, this can be very fun, but to get the optimal build, maybe this is not the most optimal way, because I think there might be a way to get your build in a certain direction, and I'm going to talk about that here. So by talking about carding the least amount possible, like what are the least amount of cards I can be carding, and well, now what to card. So do I need to card more cards? How many cards? What are the best cards? Is this a good start? And stuff like that. We don't know. We can do some theory crafting about this. And well, so with synergy crafting, we gotta ask the question, what opens up the most synergy? If you want to roll for a warrior, you gotta look for the talents or the abilities that are opening up the most amount of stuff. A case here is Single-Minded Fury. Not only does it opens up a very strong talent for Single-Minded Fury, but with having Mortal Strike, Slam and stuff like that in the name, it could also opens up a lot of more talents. And so you probably gotta ask for every build you're gonna make now, what ability or talent could be worth carding at the start or very early on in your build progression, because Single-Minded Fury, an example, opening up Mortal Strike, Overpower, Slam stuff, if you're building a Single-Minded Fury warrior, opening up so many beneficial talents could be very, very strong for your build, compared to like not having a direction for your build and carding 0 cards. The other way of the spectrum is what talents can you, well, card. In this case, Blood Surge, it opens up 6 different abilities, and all of these 6 different abilities, if you hopefully roll them early on, it will hopefully synergistic roll the other corresponding talent that benefits these talents. And so we're now probably gonna look out for talents that just have the most amount of text for synergistic rolls that we're gonna be looking for in our build. And can we then answer the question of what are the strongest? Do we card Single-Minded Fury because it opened up these abilities? Do we card Blood Surge because it opens up these talents, and vice versa? And we can only guess right now, and we can do some more testing and see how strong the synergistic rolls are when Chapter 2 rolls out. I don't know how to put this. If you know this picture. This concept, I'm gonna call it ability blocking, with the knowledge now of more on how synergistic rolls work. If you have Mortal Strike and you're aiming for the Demolisher talent, because it's a Mortal Strike talent, you will also be able, when you pull off the synergistic roll, you will also be able to roll Spell Shredder, Bloody Maelstrom, but you want to target Demolisher. The way you could do this, and keep in mind, you basically only do this at the early stages of your build and for only certain abilities and stuff like that, but you could try to hold on and keep stuff like Spell Shredder, Bloody Maelstrom, so when you get your synergy roll for a Mortal Strike ability, there is a slight increased chance to get the Demolisher. It's probably not going to be a lot, it's going to be very min-max, but it's something to keep in mind when you roll away stuff that you think, oh, this is not useful for my build, but it could be blocking, so when you do the synergistic roll, you are not seeing Spell Shredder or other talents that are not the one you want. And another way to look at ability blocking is to, well, keep actually kind of a meme now, but actually keep abilities that don't have any text on them to unlock either talents or abilities for a while, as long as you can, because it's a dead talent, but it could be good because it doesn't unlock random Fireball or Frostbolt when you eventually pull off a synergistic roll. So kind of funny and interesting interaction, I guess. Start of level 1 is probably gonna be one of the most important choices now, because level 1 abilities is now the only choice where you cannot change your mind later on. So a good example is Battle Shout. It's a warrior shout, so it opens up the possibility of, in this case, Battle Fatigue talent and Echoing Warcry, very strong for Single-Minded Fury warriors. And when you roll these 2 abilities that are sourced from your level 1 choice, you now have the possibility of rolling Warcry, one of the strongest warrior abilities out there. And then with all of this information, can we answer the question, what to card? And well, no, because as you see here in this web of a clusterfuck, I mentioned Single-Minded Fury and Blood Surge had so many text on them. Blood Surge open up 6 abilities, Single-Minded Fury 4 talents, and you can try to connect the dots when you're making a build. It will probably take some tries to get good at this, but carding Single-Minded Fury, opening up Massive Arms, opening up Slam opening up possible Draconic Slam, Dragon Raw, Draconic Might, and so on. And yeah, you gotta be creative with this. That is the best I can say. And this is just to showcase how it's possible to maybe be working now in Chapter 2. Another way to approach this, when you ask, should I card an ability or talent? Normally you would probably always card Wind Fury because it's a very strong warrior ability, but now it's maybe better to use a talent slot over an ability slot, because you will have more freedom later on with a free ability slot. So maybe consider carding Zephyr, so Zephyr unlocks Wind Fury, and then the Zephyr can unlock the Wind Slam and Elemental Weapons. That are some of the possibilities now, and keep that in mind when you card a build. And this is also where this picture came from when I started this video, and it's gonna be interesting to see how impactful these are in Chapter 2. Everything here is purely Fury crafting. We don't know if you have the ability Single-Minded Fury. It says Mortal Strike and Slam, but does that trigger not having the ability Slam or the ability Mortal Strike? Does it then actually opens up like stuff like Masters of Arm, Draconic Slam? We can only guess, and we can test on Friday, but for now, only guesses. Same goes for Honor Amongst Thieves. When it says combo point, does it need to be a combo point beneficial thing? Does it need to mention stuff like Eviscerate, Dispatch in order to give us Generator or spend us? So maybe it could be beneficial to card stuff like Honor Among Thieves, or it could be beneficial to wait and see if you don't hit Honor Amongst Thieves. Well, then you spend your pre-talent card on it later on if you don't hit it. And for the conclusion of this, everything here needs to be tested. It's very good to have a plan. I like it. I like to share it with you guys. And 9 out of 10 times for this synergistic rolls, it's going to be so low amount of increased chance to roll a build and stuff like that. So probably doesn't even going to matter if it's not increased that much compared to what we already seen. There's a slight hints of synergistic rolls, and yeah, probably I'm maybe just overhyping it, but I'm excited for Chapter 2. Finally home to test all of this stuff. That is it for this video. I hope you learned something, or maybe now are gonna go out and start Fury crafting yourself for the build, or maybe then even the new build that you are consider rolling in Chapter 2. And hopefully this helped you somehow to help you with that process, so you're not gonna start figuring it out on whenever Chapter 2 is released. So with that, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.